Oh, that's very good of you. Thanks.
Of course.
Certainly.
I don't really. I'm not really one for art galleries and stuff like that, but I like seeing places. Nice. I like seeing places.
Okay.
And it
I
would
could
be nice
certainly
to know,
arrange something.
like, about how things are and stuff like that, like where things are.
Of course. And then I can certainly give you a little bit better outline of the city than maybe some of our companions could.
Hmm.
Not that they would be any worse of a guide, but I have a little bit better finger on the pulse of the city than they do. It's not really their interest.
I have been looking around the place.
Oh,
It's
anything
nice.
that catches your eye so far?
I found there's a nice cafe I like, and I went to the docks. I quite like the docks. And I don't like the river much.
Kelsey, can I try to steer the conversation? I mean, I've lived in the French Quarter and guessing all my life. Can I try to steer the conversation back to art clubs and museums and places that aren't
Places where you might have dropped bodies?
Yeah, places where Frank's killed somebody and or jumped into, and try to steer the conversation a little bit back to normal. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I imagine that Frank is describing the areas that he's been to, and you interject politely, kind of catching on with the earlier wanting to know where things are and like experiencing them, maybe mentioning, oh, why don't we try the museum? Why don't we try the Jackson Square? Why don't we try? And you start listing off a few different city locations that are much more like landmarks than just the general French Quarter where you've kind of been sequestered to this whole time.
And
quite like the train yard.
I'll give Jules an imploring, please God help me look, because I believe Jules has been in the city for a long time as well.
You know, I like John Clemmer's exhibit.
What's that?
It's a Legacy of Art exhibit.
Actually, that would be one of the places I would recommend. That's perfect.
I've always been into churches, so...
The Jackson Square for you, then.
Of course.
Do you have any interest in a particular type of church?
Old churches, old Catholic churches.
Okay, then the square would be nice. You've probably already been there, though. I'll see if I can find something maybe a little less main for you. Maybe something you haven't seen.
That would be lovely. Thank you very much.
Although those are much more things we like to view from afar.
Jules will look at Frank and Hank, and then to Peter, kind of just seeing what their reactions are.
Bored when you're talking about art.
Desperately trying to keep the conversation going.
Is there a clock anywhere?
No, not in here.
No. All right.
Oh, let me check my. Oh no, I haven't bought one yet.
That was mostly out of character about a clock being in there.
Yeah. No, you do not notice a clock. However, could I get wits awareness from everyone, please, as this conversation is politely continuing and attempting to be steered away from concerning literal landmarks.
Any specific difficulty?
No particular difficulty.
Sweet.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Check you out.
Yeah.
Everyone outside of Frank notices the main door that you came through open. Peter, you notice that 2 people come in. Everyone else, you notice 1 person steps in. And Peter, what you notice is there is a gentleman kind of obscured behind the very loud appearance of the other individual before you. Oh, this is unfortunate that you're the only one that didn't notice. Everyone notices as the door opens and this individual steps in. They have a very pronounced air about them. It's tall, not quite lanky, but you think particularly thin-limbed. Not gardener-esque, but akin to that. You think that this is less of a choice and more of a direct, maybe, mutation of the turn. Hank, you recognize this individual as their head tilts up and the shadow on their face disperses. You recognize the tight features drawn across the skull in pale, almost porcelain-covered white skin, and there's a tight smile as he steps forward, tapping the cane against the carpeted floor for a moment with each step. And you can see that the group that Josephine is with right now stops and turns their attention over there. Peter, what you notice is as he makes his way into the room, the gentleman that stepped in behind him has moved off to the side and kind of begun to counterclockwise make his way around the edge of the room, just kind of taking in the scene. And what you recognize about him is there is a strong, like, evergreen type scent coming from his clothes, and you imagine it's a heavy cologne of some type that hasn't been, it seems like more than was needed was used at first whiff, but then you get a particularly like decomposition sweet scent under it, and you can tell it's being used to mask something. They're both in particularly well-tailored suits. The gentleman that stepped in first, his suit's a bit older. You think something that maybe somebody would have worn to an opera house would have worn, whereas the one that's making his probably path, you think this is much more of something that you would have done, a perimeter walk, is more modern. No coattails, classical style. Did that work? I tried to mute him for us.
No, it didn't.
Okay.
He's just too fucking noisy.
Sorry. I don't have server mute then. And
I keep an eye on the guy sort of mincing round. Yeah, so I keep one eye on him and another eye on the other chap was coming.
as he's moving around. Yes.
It's the other chap, Martin Meeks.
Yes. The one that Peter noticed is Martin. The rest of you have not quite noticed his presence yet.
Okay, so who's the first chap that's walked in?
The first one is the one that you recognize, which was the one that Frank described to you.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. So you think from what Josephine said, that might be the Skulls member. The Harbinger of Skulls.
Right.
Going back to the description for Martin Meeks, as he is making his path around, you recognize the disfiguration of the face. There is a deep purple bloom across a good 3/4 of it, whereas you can tell the eyes themselves are clouded over. But they're very attentive. It's like it hasn't affected the sensory at all, but you can tell this is much more of a cadaver-esque appearance than perhaps Smokey has. Smokey looks... he has some necrotic aspects to his appearance, but it's much more disfiguring scars for him, and it almost looked like he went through a burn of some type, whereas this individual seems to have perhaps languished for a little bit. And almost you gather that scent of decomposition might be part of maybe how his transformation presents, and that's why he's wearing such a heavy pine scent. The skull individual will tip his hat towards Gabriella and Jules, and then remove it and tuck it under his arm with a flourish, along with his cane, and go to join the prince next to Martine, who seems a little bit uncomfortable to be sitting beside him. And you notice that he has no hair on the top of his head. It is just a sheer skin tight, like you can tell small bumps and ridges and dips in the skull with how tight his skin is. Porcelain facade.
I don't notice any of this.
Not that one.
Cool.
I imagine that if Jules and Gabriella turn to make their nod or their greeting, that's when you would notice.
I would notice Hat Guy.
You would notice Hat Guy.
Oh.
I would lean in and say to Frank, "Is that not your friend, Hat Guy?"
Well, I'm on my way.
Jules will probably just kind of stare a little bit and then take a sip of her drink.
Gabriella's gonna lean over to you, Jules, and just go, "That's the perfect response, honestly."
And she'll, while she's taking a sip, will simply nod.
Yeah, the two of you are hiding your conversation behind the lip of your glasses, so she's just nodding with you. He's gonna clock your approach, Frank, and turn his attention to you, but he's still seated next to the group with the prince.
Mm-hmm. I don't know who any of these people are, so that makes no difference to me.
Happy days.
I'm just going over to meet Hat Guy because I said I was going to look out for him, and now I found him, so I'm going to go and shake his hand.
You hold out your hand for him to shake, and he takes it. And I will say this, when you feel his hand, it is almost just bone. That's
Okay.
almost exactly what it feels like. It doesn't feel like there's much tissue between, and you can feel the knuckles very pronounced.
I will be gentle with his hand then.
Gives you a relatively firm handshake, but it's nothing untoward. There's no strength that would damage you applied to it type of situation, just a firm greeting.
Hello. I'm sorry I didn't find you again. I'm glad I've had an opportunity to bump into you a second time.
The tight-lipped smile on his face breaks into a little bit of a grin, and he nods to you. It's quite all right. I knew we would meet again.
I didn't get a chance to introduce myself before. My name's Frank. I'll reach out to shake his hand again.
I'm Augustine Green.
What a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Likewise. Seems that you enjoy a little bit of the unique side of life.
I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I suppose that's true.
You know, it led you to see me, so.
I'm not entirely sure how that happened. If I wasn't supposed to, I'm sorry.
I wouldn't have invited you to follow me if you weren't.
I'm so sorry. I would have followed, but we was busy. We was in the middle of doing stuff.
Quite alright. We kind of stepped into each other's night. We didn't have anything formal. If you had been
Perhaps,
free, you would have been welcome, and you weren't free, but you were still welcome.
perhaps another night then.
He gives you a polite nod.
He's kind of Frank's kind of run out of things to say now, so he'll probably say, "Well, thanks. I hope you have a good night," and then he'll walk off back to the rest of the group.
He's just gonna watch you go?
Unless he stops me.
No, he's gonna watch you go, tilt his head, and he's very much considering the interaction there. Nothing particularly negative about it on his face that you can tell. And then he returns his attention to the conversation being had beside him.
I'm not sure Frank would notice because he's genuinely just being friendly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's just like, he's a person that he crossed paths with, he thought was interesting and wanted to talk to him again, and now he's had an opportunity to do so. Like, he's happy.
He does.
Instantly, he's not been quiet throughout all of that. Whoever the chap is sat with will have heard all of what has just happened.
Okay. I will say you could tell that he was pleased to be able to see you again.
Oh, when I get back to the group, I'll go, "What a nice man."
Jules, you can see that Gabriella is intentionally keeping her drink close to her lips, and she doesn't particularly comment, but you could see like she's sharing like a side glance with you.
She'll return it and sip it, and then put it down. It's like, well, I'm glad that you're making that you made a friend.
Yeah, he's a nice man. I think we're going to see each other again.
Lovely. Sip.
Good to get off on the right foot. And that's all Gabriella says. Very diplomatic in her choice of words. Peter, you notice that the individual who was making their line around the room seems satisfied and joins the group with the prince. They step in front of the gentleman with the wire-rimmed glasses and leans over to speak with the prince directly. Josephine, at this point, is going to break away and make her way over to Hank.
I will grab the dock and I will meet her halfway because I don't want her anywhere near earshot of Gabrielle.
She will notice that you're bringing him over and give you the "does this need to be a private conversation" kind of look.
I'll give her a "oh fuck yes" kind of nod.
Just the very subtle eyebrow raise, noticing that you're taking him away from Gabriella, and she notices the nod. She's going to check the watch on her wrist, decide that you
Doc, we're gonna have a little chat with Josephine and see if we can remedy the situation. Are you okay with that?
I don't think I have any choice.
Good answer. Okay. Sorry, Toasty. We'll make our way.
You're good. She's watching the clock on her wrist, and she seems to be considering something before motioning the two of you towards the door that has the individual blocking it. She's going to walk over, knock on it. They're going to turn around, and you see a gentleman with, I would say, probably Hispanic features from what you can discern. He's going to notice it's Josephine and open the door for her. Etienne, I need a few minutes. The boys need to go freshen up, and I'm going to check a few things. We'll be back before it begins. And he nods and holds the door open for the two of you to follow her out. She's going to lead you over to the powder rooms area.
I have a quick look. There's nobody else around, no?
No, she makes sure no one else is around, and then she's going to direct you into the ladies' room, and she's going to make sure nobody goes in the door while you're in there.
Okay. I think we might have a slight situation.
Okay, what's occurred?
Well, the doc's been getting very friendly with Valentine. And seems to have played his hand a little bit. Doc, do you want to explain?
Well, I was just asking him if what kind of clans were in the city. And I was trying to see if there was one that I could kind of get in with. One with my areas.
Okay, and how did you present your areas?
I melded two of my fingers together, then split them.
Josephine is audibly going to sigh. Of those present in the city, we don't have a representation for you.
Okay, but they're not all bad. Well, bad's not the correct term. They're not all, right?
What does you know?
Sabbat?
No, not all of them. This is going to be very important, and the reason why I pulled you over here is because there are a lot of ears here tonight that can probably still hear us talking right now. So what did you say? And she lowers her voice further.
We just had some polite conversation, and I was, asking if there was anyone with my abilities, because I don't know, where I fit in this situation.
Okay. Did you mention anything else?
No.
You did. A little bit. You discussed that you met somebody particularly unique outside the city in your travels. And when this happened to you, you went to them.
Yeah, but that could be anybody.
You said particularly unique.
That could still be anybody. All these vampires are unique.
Valentine asked you how unique. You emphasized it.
That still,
Just saying.
For a native southern US boy, unique means a lot of things.
Do you bring it up to Josephine? Or do you not? Do you just gloss over it?
I'll tell her that I had a acquaintance that I went to whenever I got turned.
And that's what you told her?
And he kind of showed me a little bit of the ropes. That's about it.
And he showed you the ropes.
Feed, don't kill people, that kind of thing. Don't leave the body out.
She's gonna look at you, Hank.
Yep.
And then she's gonna look back at you, Dr. Horizons.
Okay, that person, though, was not the most strange person that I've met all my years helping in New Orleans.
What possessed you?
I was trying to find my... Everyone else has people that have similar attributes.
So this is a person who is similar to you, who showed you the ropes. Is that
No,
what
I
I'm
didn't mean it like
understanding
that. I meant it like, like Kindred, like, not like me,
Dr. Isaacs, if you say someone is akin to you, that is typically how it is taken in these circles. I'm simply letting you know. The bigger curiosity that he's going to have is that you know someone outside of the city, and you went to them before you came here. We won't discuss the other portions of this.
I know how to
So-
spin that.
Okay, so why did you come back to the city?
My life's here. Everything I know's here.
How are you going to spin it?
Well,
No, I don't. Please tell me.
I have some,
Dr. Isaacs, I need your answer. Not a hypothetical. I need your answer. Dr. Isaacs, you're standing in the women's powder room of a very affluent hotel, and we are about to have an extremely important meeting, and one of the most inquiring minds in the city is going to need to know this answer before the night is through. I am certain of it.
okay,
Can
So-
I just say that you realise that these were bad people, the sort of people he didn't want to be in with. So his earliest opportunity escaped, and now that's why he's back in New Orleans.
I may have sold some blood to, a native doctor, shaman.
You know what? I think it might be best to go with Hank's brief explanation for now, and you can embellish on it as you go.
Okay.
How would you spin it with selling blood to a shaman? Because there are individuals in this city who do play with those forces.
Well, that was the person that I went to for help. And, after they taught me the ropes a little bit and, didn't let me run wild and that kind of thing, I went back to my life.
So, you want to say an indigenous person, correct?
Yes.
A native, an indigenous person, taught you the ropes of being a kindred.
Yeah.
I will tell you now that though this is a gross oversimplification of it, the majority of them are accustomed to a unique and different spiritual path. And that path does not play well with kindred. Typically. It is
But
just
they're
something
unique,
they would...
so, typically.
They will dig into that until they have dug your second grave. Do you have an actual source that you could point them to that this would follow up with?
I mean, technically,
Alright. Either or is a good answer. Let's head back before Elysium begins. With that, I need to take a quick break. And
I'm
we
not
will pick
surprised.
back up.
Oh.
So we start the murdering now, right?
Kill them all. Yeah.
When you come back in the room, just all I need is just like any facial expression whatsoever, and I'm kicking off.
Take the Toreador.
Oh yeah, she's first.
Yep.
Not Hat Guy.
Well, Hat Guy's yours.
No, I'm keeping him. He's nice.
Oh, well, yeah.
I only know 2 vampires in the city beyond you lot. It's the one who talks too much about art and Hat Guy.
Yeah, we need to kill the art person.
Is that an RN Jesus t-shirt?
It is.
Nice.
As Josephine is processing Dr. Isaac's response, she's going to take a breath, which seems much more deliberate an action than actually a needed breath, knowing your circumstances. And she's going to maintain her spot at the door. She's going to motion for Dr. Isaacs to move over to her. Come here.
Okay.
And she's going to reach out, and because you had tasseled your hair earlier, she's going to smooth it back for you as you would have been wearing it earlier in the evening, and kind of just shore up any creases she sees. I'm being harsh on you because these are the people in the city that you have to get on your side. And even if they're not on your side, you just don't want them as enemies right now. At least you don't want them as witting, aware enemies, okay? You're getting much better at thinking on your feet in these situations. And if you have someone who can line up your story for you, and you know that, go with it. But if you don't, I recommend trying Hank's approach, okay? I don't want you to think that I don't have faith in you, because I see how intelligent you are, and I can see that you're making strides to fit into this realm that we've thrown you into. But you can't just show your back to people. they'll stab it. The first chance they get, every single one in that room will stab your back. And she's going to kind of brush out the collar of your shirt a little bit and pick off a few, like, non-existent bits of lint and give you a nod.
I'll nod back.
So which one are we going with?
We'll go with Hank for now.
Okay. And how does Dr. Isaac seem to feel about that? Does he seem kind of... Give me what Dr. Isaac is feeling.
I thought I could handle it. You know, it's kind of like a like a like a like a child after you get scolded.
Mm.
I thought I could
Well,
tie my shoes. Sure, they were all knots, but you know,
you tried. It was a good first attempt. It was a poor audience for a first attempt, but it was a good first attempt type of situation. All right. Well, we've resolved that. Let's get back in there before everything kicks off. We've got a few moments, and I do mean moments. And she's going to step out the door, double check that the coast is clear, and then open the door for you two to leave the bathroom.
all right.
Okay, slip out and head back into the main hall.
She will take you over. Instead, you'll cross the lounge where you came from towards the gentleman named Etienne. And she's going to give him a nod. He's going to step aside and open the door back to the carousel lounge for you. Motioning everyone inside. The door closes behind you, and Etienne resumes his stance of observing for anyone who wouldn't be welcome coming through the wrong entrance. Let's put it that way. Only those who are intended to be at Elysium tonight know to use the main door as you did. Inside, you notice that Gabriella has moved back over to the social circle. That next to Valentine, who has moved closer to them, he's not at the bar anymore, though he does have a drink in hand. He's sitting with Meeks a little bit further away, and occasionally Gabriella is shooting like an irritated glance in their direction, but she's doing a good job of hiding it outside of just her look. Her face is still very pleasant. Horace has stepped away. He's closer to the door that you enter from. And the prince is kind of glancing around. You think he's making certain that everyone he anticipated to be here is present. Jules, when Gabriella parted from you, she gave you a very polite, "Excuse me, I need to go check on a few things before this begins."
Understandable. Thank you for your company tonight and showing me the ropes.
It's been my pleasure. Oh, and those that came in, that's Augustine Green. She's gonna lower her voice and kind of whisper it to you. Part of the Cappadocian clan, but they call themselves the Harbinger of Skulls because of their appearance. And then that is Martin Meeks. If you don't want it known, he probably knows it already.
I see.
He is the eyes and ears of the city. I may know people, but I know better than to think I know everything. That man could probably claim to know everything that goes on here.
See, thank you very much.
Of
She'll
course.
she'll look in Minx's direction,
Hmm.
and then
And he's sitting with Valentine at that point.
well, I'll see you later.
Of course. And she'll excuse herself. And it's about this time when Hank and Dr. Isaacs and Josephine come back in. And once they're clocked and their presence is recognized, the prince will stand up and clear his throat. So, with this, Elysium is now in order. And you can tell that he has a particularly thick Cajun accent that he is modifying very well for those present. It still tinges some of his words, though. I've brought you here tonight to recognize you within the city. It's my understanding that some of you might be a little bit lost. Given that I want to make a city that's welcoming to most, if not all, I'm extending a hand to each of you to introduce yourselves to me tonight. So make you part of our social circles and help me figure out how to handle it. I am Prince Marcel Bilbao. I have the first and the last say on how things are handled here. I will start with Josephine. You requested permission to sire, and it was granted. Josephine will stand up, and she will motion you over to her, Hank.
Yeah, I'll get up and walk over towards her.
And then she will gently push you just like a half step ahead of her, as if making you the focal. Yes, and this is the result of the permission granted. This is Hank. I take responsibility for him at this time. He has been very helpful within the week or so that I was granted. And I would like to also put forth that in our endeavors to keep an eye on the ongoings of the city, we've managed to find a few other faces that were fresh and seem to be in need of some guidance. They were picked up and left on doorsteps, if you gather the meaning of that. Uh, Hank, she's very lightly going to tap you on the arm for you to move back to her side.
Okay.
The prince is going to nod in acknowledgement for both of you. Hank, would you like to say anything for yourself?
Like to thank you for the opportunity and promise that anything you need from me to help this city, you just need to ask.
He gives you a polite nod. We will see how things proceed over the next few months. If it goes well, then perhaps you'll receive an area of your own. For now, I'm under the impression you will be staying with Josephine and continuing as you were.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's going to move his gaze across the room. And could I get... I believe it's going to land on Jules first, because you've been very close and upfront with Gabriella for most of the evening. So he will smile warmly at you, Jules, and incline his head. Evening.
Jules will stand and give a curtsy. Hello, I'm Jules Fontenot. Happy to be here. I present myself to you and to the city.
I recognize your surname.
Yeah. Yes. Your Majesty.
Prince is
Pr-
fine.
Um. I, got made, and then came here. So here I am.
The last evening you recall, do you know what happened to you?
It was a bit of a blur. I was at a party and then kind of, woke up and then felt different. So that's all I can basically remember.
He nods. Interesting. Do you remember where the party was?
Out of character, I'm trying to remember what I told the husband, the ongoing lie.
You were in the French Quarter when the party was originally happening, and then you met people and went to California for a week.
Yeah, she'll relay that.
Oh,
It was very weird.
so you passed out or something happened at your party. You woke up with a group of individuals and came back home because your ties are here.
Indeed, Prince.
He nods. Have you found yourself with any particular set of skills outside of those you had in life?
Um, I can take a punch better.
He's going to consider it for a moment.
And I can tell people to do something and they do it.
Mm. Think you and Miss Gabriella were getting along well. If she doesn't mind showing you around the city, it might be beneficial for you. Or she may have somebody who could do so.
I would really like that. Thank you very much.
And his gaze is going to move to Frank next, who I imagine was still over there with you at the bar.
Yep.
Jules will curtsy and then sit back down.
Hello.
Evening.
I'm Frank Edward Vaughan. I don't know who my vampire daddy is, and I'm real good at killing.
We do our best to avoid that in this city. At
Outside
this
the
time.
sea. Got it.
You can see he's considering your words, but he's not correcting you at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Anything
And I can make
else?
stuff.
Okay. Are you better at these? He holds up his hand. Are you better at making things since your shift?
No.
I imagine you're better at the other things since your shift, so we won't have to touch on that one.
I never did no killing before. But it turns out, well, no, that's not true. I did some killing before. In fairness, I did do some killing before when I was in the army, but not like casually, not as a civilian.
Mhm.
But it turns out I'm real good at it now. Quite strong.
So you may have become stronger.
Yep.
Any other changes?
Well, Are good at seeing stuff. Sometimes I see like dead people.
It's gonna.
Like my wife.
And you notice that he looks over to the gentleman with the wire rim glasses, and they kind of make eye contact for a moment. And he's going to give a subtle nod and then look back to you. I think maybe you would benefit from a conversation with Horace or a few individuals that he works with.
Okay.
Do you have anything you desire from the city currently?
I mean, you've kind of ruled out killing, so not well. I need to find a place to live. Is live the right word?
Stay, nest, roost, live. There are a few you could use. They're interchangeable.
I got some ideas, but I don't want to like go trodden on nobody's patch or nothing.
Do you have a particular request?
I was thinking like maybe the train yard. I could put something together real nice.
That's kind of an open area or a shared area right now. If you can use things from the train yard, we might be able to make arrangements though and find you somewhere.
Yeah, I can make do.
Okay. I'll be in contact with you, or my sheriff Etienne will be in touch with you. And we'll see what we can do. The city is fairly well divided up as it is already, but there are always spaces opening.
I don't need much room. Thanks, Chief.
You actually get a little bit of a smile at that, and he just nods before moving over to Peter.
Hi, I'm Pete Tom, police officer in New Orleans. And I just woke up in the bayou. Didn't really know what's gone on. Came into the city trying to figure out what's gone on. Here I am.
I recognize your face and your name. They were about to run some missing reports on you.
Yeah. Not anymore.
You don't recall anything that took you out there?
No, I was doing an investigation into some other stuff. And then I don't remember anything that happened after that. And I just woke up out in the bayou.
Do you know of any other police officers that might have gone missing?
I don't know of any at the minute. I can certainly look into it. Still got contacts in the local office, so I know they're sending down some feds to head up more of an investigation into the missing persons.
You
I
keep
can
me
certainly look into
informed.
it.
You keep me
Will do.
informed on both of those. That's a good line of work for you. I'll
Yeah, will do.
definitely have Etienne be in contact with you for the time being.
Okay.
He's gonna finally look over to Dr. Isaacs.
I'll give him a bow. Introduce myself as Oscar Isaacs. I was a doctor. I was helping those less fortunate when something hit me, and then I woke up.
Okay. You just woke up and you've been wandering the city?
Yeah, in a way.
He's gonna notice that like your expression is a little troubled. and state. Look, it's not easy for a lot of people to just change so quickly, especially without warning. So, what I can understand right now is each of you was going about your business outside of Hank, and you were abruptly taken at some point in the evening and woke up with your current changes.
That right?
Kind of. I was just visiting.
Yeah.
Okay. Hank and Josephine by proxy. I've been looking into people disappearing for me. It's become a citywide epidemic at this point. And apparently some of them are showing back up akin to yourselves. So I'm willing to overlook the situation that you don't technically have a sire for me to hang your coat on right now. That means that if something you do breaks a law of this city or is untoward, I have to mitigate it, and it's going to go directly to you. And depending on how detrimental that is, I can't mitigate it. Whoever you cross is going to have to be a kind-hearted individual to try and mitigate it for you. But if I'm getting involved at that point, they likely are. I noticed that most of you seem to comfortable with each other tonight, to know one another already through the way you've spoken. I propose that you become a group. That would be called a coterie in this city. I don't really have a ready spot to hand out to you just yet. See how well you work together. Depending on how well you work together and how well you fit this city, I will give you space. And this city is built on tolerance. It is a melting pot. We have more here than just kindred. And I'm not saying you have to be friends with them. I'm saying don't make it a war. Did I make myself clear?
Crystal.
Yes, Prince.
Good. You got Fae. You got people who can manipulate things that you would consider to be magic. I'm not going to bother trying to explain it. I don't even fully understand it myself. In addition to these, you also have individuals that are in particularly close proximity or regard of spirits, and they can change their shape and their form. And you might be slightly more attentive to them because they typically are our antithesis. If you see one in a shifted form, you are likely to go a little bit crazy yourself. It is a natural survival response of what we are. Over the next few days, I will pair you with those I think you will work well with. I'll speak with each of you individually tonight and make that assessment myself. I think I'm a general good assessment of character, or at least of aptitudes. This city is also founded on the fact of the Camarilla laws. We will attempt to instill those within you as early as possible, avoiding killing being one of them when and where possible. We also try our best to not break the facade that we are more than mortal anymore. One day I want to change that. One day I want us to be able to live out in the open. It's my goal. But for right now, it's better for them to think of us as bedtime stories, good or bad. Are we in accord?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Prince.
Yes, sir. Prince, sir.
Hank? Juliet? Oscar Isaacs? Frank? Mr. Tom? And he notices the look you give Frank when he says just your first name, Mr. Vaughn. Welcome to my city.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It is now your city. Let's work together to maintain it. My first request, continue to look in on these missing people. Do that and you will ingratiate yourself to me. Mr. Tong, I would like to know more about that task force.
Yeah, I can tell you what I know.
With that, enjoy Elysium. We will mingle shortly. And with that, we'll wrap up for the evening, and everybody gets 3 experience points.
Yay! Thank you for listening. Bye!